All right, so now that we know kind of the philosophies of what we're doing and why, and we know how to screen, let's talk about trying to put that information into a system and kind of dig a little bit deeper into how to do that. So we talked about a lot of things we're going to talk about now in the beginning when I was first talking, but I want to cover more of the details. Hopefully now I got that pterodactyl out of my throat, so I'll actually be able to communicate. All right, so first thing I want to get into is red lighting. So we red light with posters and bracelets. So how many of you guys have heard of the bracelet system or are currently using that? Cool. So we take people through the 7 movements. We find the dysfunctions. And basically what we've done is we've taken the 7 movements and we've color-coded the movements on the functional movement screen. And then we have posters and bracelets that correspond to those colors. So let me explain. The overhead deep squat is now purple. Inline lunge, blue. Hurdle step, green. The push-ups, red. Rotary stability is orange. Shoulder mobility is white. And active straight leg raise is yellow. I had to. So basically, clients, they don't need to know what an overhead deep squat is necessarily. They just need to know they're purple if they get a 1 on the deep squat. So we have the poster system and the bracelet system there, so they don't have to do as much thinking. They just need to know what color bracelets to wear, and then we can take care of the rest. So the posters are good because we assign them a corrective exercise based on their weakest link. They come in, they forget it. They can access the poster to see the corrective they're supposed to do. Then they can access the red light list to see what they're not supposed to do so they have more information. But the most important part of it is the bracelet system, because they're going to get a bracelet for every 1 that they have on the movement screen. So we talked about what red lighting is, but what specifically do we red light based on the screen? I'm going to go back. This is the red light poster here. It's the same poster that's on the wall. So your clients can know what color they are and what they shouldn't do. Here's we have it broke out on the side. So if someone has a 1 on the deep squat, we don't want them doing resisted squats or jumping, like jump squats or like heavy squats. So if you can't do the squat with your heels up on the board, we feel that you should not do a squat with a weight on your back. Pretty simple, right? So we just give them a purple bracelet, and then when we're running a class, if it's a double kettlebell front squat, like the example I used earlier, they're either going to be doing an RNT squat, a heels elevated squat, a hip mobility, or an ankle mobility to fix the squat. Or we can avoid, and we can give them like a deadlift or run in place, whatever you want to do depending on your program. But what we're not going to do is make the dysfunction worse by loading a pattern that has a dysfunction in it. Inline lunge. If you can't do the basic split squat, we'd feel as though you shouldn't be doing weighted split squats or lunges. So if you can't do this, you probably shouldn't do like walking lunges with 50-pound dumbbells in each hand. It's just going to make it worse. So what we do is something else to make it better or avoid. The hurdle step, the green bracelet, basically if you can't do that, probably shouldn't sprint, be doing high box step-ups or jumps. It's just going to make it worse. The trunk stability push-up, push-ups from the floor, certain plank variations. We might just elevate the push-up or we'll go into push-up correctives as we go forward. Rotary stability, a lot of heavy strength and power exercises. It's just your inner core with the rotary stability isn't optimal, so we don't want to have you doing snatches and things like that. Or a lot of like offset load stuff, you might want to watch that and make sure that that is the form on that's correct. Somebody that has a rotary stability issue might have a hard time with that. Shoulder mobility, pretty much just overhead pressing. And just because someone has a 1, if someone has a 1 on the shoulder mobility, we know they shouldn't overhead press. But if someone has a 3 on the shoulder mobility, don't assume that they can. So just know that if they have a 1, it's something that they probably shouldn't be doing. So we just take overhead pressing off the table with someone that has a 1. And then active straight leg raise, most hip hinging patterns, and kind of getting into the same stuff as the Rotary Stability there. We don't want to have you doing a lot of power exercises or super heavy strength stuff. If you can't lay on the ground and lift your leg up without a compensation, probably shouldn't be doing barbell snatches, cleans, and things like that. You really don't want to be doing a lot of the deadlifting stuff. We want to work on clearing that first. And it's super easy to clear leg raises, so you should be able to knock that out in either like a couple minutes or a couple weeks at the most to get people to be able to move on to doing the stuff they want to do. So that's the stuff that we actually red light. Basically, we give you a bracelet, and we know in the class if that station, just by looking at your wrist, if you should or shouldn't be doing the exercise at that station. So you ever have the client where if you have multiple exercise progressions and you tell them what to do and they just blatantly don't listen or they don't understand, you can look down at their wrist and be like, that's what you should be doing. It's on the posters. So it's a good system. That's what the poster looks like, that they can reference it. If you get a bracelet, you are not a bad person. And this is one of the things that's going to be most important for everybody to learn, not just for themselves. Like, when we screen you this weekend, think of how it would feel to be your client, who's never even been in a gym at times, to learn about all the things that they can't do. So you don't want to phrase things in the way of, you can't do this, you're bad at this, you're not good at this. We want to talk about the things they can do, and we want to really minimize that we're taking things out. I don't want to tell people that we're pulling things out of their workout. I want to tell people we're just finding the right spot and the right things that they need to do to set them up for success. So if you get a bracelet, you're not a bad person. We still love you. It's all good. But if you can't squat today, we're not going to have you squat today. That's all it means. We know better now that we've done a screen. So basically, it's just showing us the best way to program your workout. And you got to get good at going over that stuff when you're doing rescreens and stuff with your clients. Gray Cook said it best, don't stack fitness on top of dysfunction. That was like that. I heard that line years ago and was just like, it just all kind of makes sense. Like, if you can't squat and we give you a double kettlebell front squat, did we do you any good? No. So, instead of doing what's going to stack fitness on top of dysfunction, do correctives or alternates instead. So this is an example circuit workout for a group. So the first exercise we have up here is Goblet Squat with a pulse. If you have a purple bracelet, we would give you the options to either do an RNT squat, which you may or may not know what that is. It's just a way to make the squat more successful. A hip abducted rock back if you have like a hip mobility issue. Those are the correctives. Or if you're cleared on the active straight leg raise, you can just go ahead and go into the alternate and do like a deadlift instead. But the gist of it is, if you can't squat today, you can't squat today. It's either corrective or an alternate. Split squat, the next exercise on the circuit, the blue bracelet. If you can't do that, we would either give you a corrective of assisted split squat, like a band-assisted split squat that pulls you up out of the split squat, or like a half-kneeling lift to work on that half-kneeling pattern, which is the foundation of the split squat. So we build up that pattern from half-kneeling, and then we bring you into an assisted split squat, and then you're doing split squats, and then you're doing lunges, and just work your way up through the progressions. You might want to do an alternate. Sometimes your clients just like, they might be on a mission to lose like 10 pounds like right now, and you don't want them doing a bunch of correctives, so you might want to have them do some more strength stuff. You just move it out, swap it in with a step up. You know, they can do a step up. If they're cleared on the hurdle, but they're not cleared on the split squat, I'm cool with giving them a step up instead of a split squat or a lunge. RDL, that's the yellow bracelet. So instead of having them do an RDL, we can correct it with a leg lowering progression Anywhere from leg lowering 1, leg lowering 2, core engaged leg lowering, depending on what their issue is. We break it out, find out which one they should be doing. Or we can avoid and do the Cook hip lift. Next exercise is the band push press. So if they scored a 1 on the shoulder mobility there, we're going to give them a reach back for a corrective, or we can just give them like a horizontal press instead of an overhead press, depending on which way you want to go. Push up is simple. All you got to do is elevate them a little bit. So when I talked earlier, you can either like take the exercise and regress it down a little bit, or it can be as much as like manual therapy and isolation exercises. The push-up could be as simple as, instead of doing a push-up from the floor, do a push-up on a box. Or do a push-up on, like that's why this rack is right here with the barbell across it, so they can just do push-ups off that barbell. So it sets them up for success. So they're just finding a variation of the push-up that they can do in good form. Or it might be something as low as flipping them over on their back and having them do dead bugs until they can get a core in the supine position. But what we know is we're not going to have them do push-ups from the floor. That's what we're red lighting. Horizontal row, that's just one of those ones. You may get into some white bracelet stuff there, but really there's some exercises that there are no things you need to red light. So corrective exercise, you might drop it down to like a band row. Like that's a suspension trainer row when I say horizontal row. Or like off a barbell. You might have them do a band row to make it easier if for some reason they can't do that. The alternate, still band row. So some stuff I try to put as, like when I'm doing a program and writing it, I want to have maybe, if there's 5 exercises, like 1 or 2 that would even need a red light. So that way it's not just like this whole like list of things that people can't do. Like you can see on the board, that's just like a 4 exercise straight set thing. There's 2 of the 4 exercises have a red light. The squat to press, there's a white bracelet on there. So if you are doing a squat to press and you have a shoulder mobility 1, you just do the squat and not the press. And the band pull through, yellow. So if you have a active straight leg raise 1, you don't do the band pull through, it would be like the RDL. You would do leg lowering or a Cook hip lift instead. That's it. We just swap out the exercise you can't do with one you can do, whether it's an alternate or whether it's a corrective to fix the pattern.